Welcome back to a rainy May Monday in the sporting world, in this world. With our weekend was fun. Weekend was fun. A lot of these leagues I've been talking about are coming down to the real business end, and last weekend was no different. All these leagues are getting very exciting. Obviously, cup final. Start with the cup final. Real feel good story. You don't get it often in sports, because I think a lot of the time, the best teams win, which is which is fine. The best teams with the most money, teams with the best players. But sometimes like a real feel good story comes along. We had it last year in Formula One with some of the smaller teams. The guys who really put in the work, and they're not necessarily in the best teams with the most money, managed to get a win. Leicester City won the FA Cup. Had fans, I think they had 6,000 each, or it might even be more than that. But either way, they had a lot of fans in the stadium, in Wembley Stadium for the first time. Sounded like a proper game. And we've been dealing with, it's been a blessing really to have football behind closed doors. But we've had football and most sports, to be fair, with no fans. The atmosphere is very different. Obviously, you're just getting the actual game being played. But when you got the fans back, every single decisions getting cheered or booed, and the chants and the energy is just like wildly different. So it's great for Leicester City to win the FA Cup. I mean, they've won. I mean, from being relegated, they got promoted to the Premier League. They avoided relegation that first year. Then they won the league in 2016. So the reason why this is a feel-good story, so their owner died in a helicopter crash after one of their games. So they had one of their games, their owner, the Thai owner, he used to fly in and out of the games in his private helicopter, and the helicopter crashed after takeoff. This is in 2018. So he was killing the owner and 4 others. So it's tragically sad for Leicester, well, for everyone really, but yeah, certainly for Leicester City. So they've been doing well. Brendan Rodgers is, I don't know if he's underrated anymore, but he's kind of like one of the nice guys in football. Good manager. Almost won the league with Liverpool. Dominated up in Scotland, which isn't difficult, with Celtic, and now he's won. Now he's gone and won an FA Cup over Chelsea, who is kind of a dress rehearsal. I mean, Chelsea, you don't want to lose too many. It's bad for momentum. You don't want to lose too many of these games. I mean, they've won. They've obviously now lost the FA Cup final, which is their first big test. And now they've got Leicester again in the league tomorrow, which is essentially, a top 4 or bust game, sort of, given how Liverpool are, as I mentioned in a minute, how Liverpool are coming along. But yeah, Leicester, it's excellent win for Leicester. So Chelsea, going back to my point, Chelsea need to stabilise and win this game, because they've got obviously essentially, three finals coming up. They've got obviously the game against Leicester tomorrow, then they've got the final Premier League game against Villa, and then they've got the Champions League next week against Man City. So, momentum is absolutely everything, and you don't want to, it's not an ideal start to their week, but back to Leicester, it's great for them. They've now won the league and the FA Cup in the last 5 seasons, which a lot of teams would be happy with, including my own. But it's great for them. Everyone's genuinely really happy for them. And it's just a good day. It's just a good day for football. Had the fans back, and a feel-good story like that happening. So pleased for Leicester. In the Premier League, so obviously after my video on Friday, I put my neck out there once again. This was a bit more of a sure thing. I said West Ham definitely will get top 4, and they proved me right. So they dropped points against Brighton, which all but rules them out. Given the state of the teams in front of them, it would take almost a miracle to get the top 4 from here, mathematically, whatever about form wise. They're just not. I don't think they've managed to capitalise, which was their weakness. It was the weakness of theirs, experience, and they're not obviously. They're not a top team, so they're not used to being in these kind of positions. So, dropping points to Newcastle and Brighton, and losing games at home to people, you can't do that if you want to get top 4. You're not just gifted top 4 because you managed to do well for 32 games out of the season. You got to do it all season. So West Ham are pretty much out of it. So it's basically a 3-team race now. Leicester, Chelsea and Liverpool, who obviously won the game. They beat obviously Man U on Thursday, and they won the game on the weekend against West Brom, who were relegated already after being behind. Their goalkeeper scored the winning goal in the 95th minute. I mean, it's just, I think there's only been 7 goals from goalkeepers. I think it's 7 in the history of the Premier League, and now he's gone and got. It's about as dramatic as it gets. Your goalkeeper coming up from a corner, which is standard practice if you're losing the game or drawing a game late. Send your goalkeeper out, because then you've obviously got more men in the box who can score goals. And it's a great header. I mean, strikers, anyone would be happy with that. It's a top header. The corner came in from Trent. He just knocked it in, like a good centre forwards finish, with his head. So, Liverpool are coming. I mean, their fixtures. If you look at Liverpool and West Ham, both of their fixtures on paper look really easy, and Liverpool at the time weren't playing well, and West Ham were, and now, Liverpool. I think with their experience, there's too many world-class players in their team. They've got like 5 or 6 players in their starting 11 who are just, who make it into the World 11, last year. So they're a top team. So that it's only a matter of time before they start winning games, and now they are. So now it's not in their hands. It kind of is, because Leicester and Chelsea have to play each other. But I think, given their fixtures again, I mean, they've got Burnley and Palace, who they can both beat. Burnley away is tricky. Burnley did get hammered by Leeds on the weekend, so they're not feeling particularly great. And Liverpool obviously need to get Champions League, so you'd expect them to get maybe 4 points out of those 2, which isn't going to be enough if the other 2, Leicester and Chelsea, do anything at all. Obviously, Leicester, if they win, they're pretty much in the top 4. But then they've still got Tottenham on the last day, so Leicester, it could still go very bad for Leicester. It's not, they're not out of the woods yet, but if they beat Chelsea tomorrow, massive win. If Chelsea win, then it's going to get even closer, because if it's going to be a point in it between the 3 of them. So yeah, who knows? That game could go either way. It's at Stamford Bridge. Leicester have just come off, just come off beating Chelsea, so there's going to be a bit of revenge in there. 3 days rest, 2 days rest, about 3 days rest, I think. Extremely exciting. I'm really looking forward to that game. That's going to be very, very interesting. So yeah, watch this space. Across the other leagues, over in France, I mean, France is kind of it's less exciting than the Spanish league in terms of how it finished on the weekend, because the leaders, all they had to do was win, and then they'll by goal difference. There's so many goals in front of PSG, that it would have been impossible for PSG to overcome that. But Lille, the leaders, managed to drop points. PSG won their game, so it's a point between the 2 of them. They've both got, on paper, winnable games against teams in the bottom half. So obviously Lille, who are the leaders now, just need to win, and then they're champions. And then obviously PSG need to win because of the goal difference. Unless they win 20-0, PSG are going to need to win the game as well. And then Monaco are kind of they need a miracle goal wise, because they're 3 points behind the leaders. So if they win that game, I think they're 20 goals behind. So Monaco are probably out of it, but if stranger things have happened, but they shouldn't be doing anything. But PSG are in a bit of trouble. Neymar's obviously signed on for another. We signed a new contract. I can't remember how long the contract was, so he's staying apparently. Mbappe, I would expect he's leaving, but not many teams can afford him. But I'd expect he's leaving. So this is quite big for them, obviously. La Liga was probably the most dramatic. You had Barcelona, Atletico Madrid, and Real Madrid going for it. Real Madrid won their game. Barca lost their game at home to a team they shouldn't have lost to. And Atletico Madrid were losing until the last 10 minutes. So at one point, Real Madrid were top of the league. Then they had a guy sent off. Atletico Madrid's team opponents had a guy sent off. Then Atletico Madrid equalised, and then Luis Suarez, old Liverpool boy, scored in the last 2 minutes of the game. So Atletico Madrid are in a very, very good position. But they are playing a team who, next week they're playing a team, Real Valladolid. They need to stay up, so they're battling relegation. So they're not going to roll over for sure. And it's Spain. You get a lot of surprise over in Spain. And Real Madrid are playing Villarreal, who are in the Europa League final, and who are chasing a qualification spot for the Europa League as well. So those two teams are going to be very close. I mean, it could go. I mean, given how this weekend went, but given how Barcelona lost at home, you know, bear in mind they need. It's strange how badly Barcelona have kind of fallen off to this point. So they're out of it, obviously. So it's out of just Madrid and Atletico. Italy is pretty fascinating because Juventus, who are struggling, they beat. So it's interesting. They beat Inter Milan, who are the champions. They won the league this year. But Juventus had a guy sent off, but they were I think it was 1-1 in the game. They subbed Ronaldo with 20 minutes to go, and apparently he didn't kick off. I saw the sort of thing. He didn't really boot up. Well, I mean that's quite your best player, you know, the most legendary player, and you take him off with 20 minutes to go, and then they win the game anyway. So they got a penalty in the last minute, which normally Ronaldo takes, and they won the game. So they kept up. Napoli won their game as well, and AC Milan drew. So between those three teams, two of them will get Champions League spaces. And interestingly, in Italy, they do a head-to-head. So they don't do goal difference, so which is, I mean, it's I guess it's more exciting and more like factual. You know, if you're tied with a team, if you beat the team in the games you played against them, you know, technically you do deserve to. It's an interesting thing. I think it'd be interesting if they adopted it in more countries, because goal difference is great. I mean, goal difference is fine. I wouldn't say anything about changing it, but certainly the head-to-head thing really does work well as a splitter, because, you know, if you smash every single team, but you lose to the rivals, at the end of the season you're both tied. If you lost to your rivals, they technically deserve to be above you. You know, whether or not you beat, you know, all the little teams in December 5 or 6-0. I think if you beat your rivals, you know, that should be the decider. So that's what they're doing in Italy, and Juventus have a worse record against both of the other teams, so Napoli and AC Milan. So they need to get above them in points. If they're level in points, it's not enough for them. So yeah, all three, two of them have winnable games. AC Milan are playing at Atalanta, who are second in the league, and they're just goal machines. So that's actually going to be a good game of football to watch. But it's in their hands. It's in AC Milan's hands and it's in Napoli's hands. Juventus need help. They need to better the result of both of the others. So, you know, Ronaldo is going to be all guns blazing for that. I can't imagine him playing in the Europa League. So if he doesn't qualify in the top 4, he's not going to play in the Champions League, which is his competition. You know, he's the all-time top goal scorer in the competition. That's his thing. He's won it 4 or 5 times, I think. You know, I just can't. And there's rumours about him leaving anyway. I can't imagine Ronaldo playing in the Europa League with, you know, all these kind of random teams from Europe. I can't see it. I think he'll end up at PSG with Neymar. I think that'd be cool. That'd be very cool, actually. I could see Mbappe maybe even swapping. I mean, I don't know about going to Juventus, but yeah, I think if Juventus don't get top 4, Ronaldo is definitely out of there. There's no way Ronaldo's going to stay and play second-tier European football, you know, with a team that's not even the 5th best not even the top 4 best in Italy. That'd be pretty incredible. So yeah, watch your space. I'm going to do a little NBA video soon, just to kind of wrap up what's been going on, because I think it would be good to get like a specific thing for all you basketball heads out there. So the Lakers ended up in the playoff game, but they did win their last 5 games. After losing to Portland, who were like the team they were kind of battling with to get into the automatic spots, they did go out and win all 5 of their games, but just Portland managed to win some big games. So they're one of the form teams in the NBA. But I'll go into that some more. All the other positions were kind of, you know, as you'd expect. There weren't any massive shocks. Golden State are going to play LA Lakers. It's going to be LeBron and Steph Curry again in a one-off game. Winner goes in, and then the loser plays the other winners of the playoff game. So, I mean, that's box office. I mean, you get LeBron and Steph in a playoff game. That's pretty box office. It's not loser goes home, So if they lose, they're not out. They get to play kind of like a second chance game, which is, you can debate amongst yourselves whether, losing a game in the playoffs and then playing a 10th team is I don't know. But yeah, I'll do a little video about the NBA coming up. UFC did happen on the weekend. Kind of compared to the other cards, not as great. Some good fights though. Beneil Dariush demolished Tony Ferguson. Really, just dominated him for 3 rounds, and Ferguson just doesn't look like he's up at the top level anymore after being so good for so long. So that was an interesting one. So Dariush kind of like proving himself against a veteran legend. Main event, Oliveira and Chandler. I mean, what I do love about some of these fights is when you get to see the best of both guys or girls, and then the fight finishes however it finishes. That's what I like, rather than McGregor and Aldo. McGregor knocks him out in 13 seconds with one punch. We don't know who was better. We have not seen a full fight. It's not like football. You play 90 minutes of a football match, and who's better over the 90 minutes. Fights can end in one punch, and you don't really get any. You get some brief entertainment, but you don't know who was actually better out the two guys. So this was not one of those. This had everything. Striking battle. Their jiu-jitsu on the ground, where Charles Oliveira was supposed to be much, much better. Oliveira had Chandler's back, going for submissions. Chandler defended it all pretty well. Chandler rocked Oliveira, almost had him finished. So Chandler was about three clean punches away from winning the title in the first round. Oliveira was looking ropey, but then the second round came out. Oliveira blasted him and then finished the fight. And he's another one who's kind of a feel-good story, because he's really come up through the ranks. He had 40 pro fights. He's only 31. He had issues with his weight. He was kind of fluctuating between 3 different divisions, missing weight, kind of inconsistent. But he's always finishing guys because he's a high-level jiu-jitsu guy. So he's now got the most finishes in the UFC, the most submissions in the UFC, and now he's the lightweight champion. And he's looking a scary prospect for anyone. Least of all, Conor McGregor, who's going to fight Dustin Poirier in the trilogy rematch in July. And the winner of that fight is going to face Oliveira for the belt. So, you could get at the end of the year, Oliveira and McGregor for the title, which, I mean, story-wise, that's going to be incredible. Because that's going to be such an elite level contest. And if, obviously, McGregor can beat Poirier, that means he's making improvements. But for me and McGregor, as weird as it sounds, for me it's a career-defining fight, this third fight against Poirier, because if he loses this fight, all the casuals will have heard he's now lost 2 in a row. He's lost 2 out of, well, he would have, at this point would have lost 2 in a row, 3 out of his last 4, apart from that kind of gimme against Cowboy Cerrone. So, and given all the money and all the stuff, like his motivation will be almost zero. But it could go the other way. He could be so motivated by losing 2 out of 3 to Poirier, he goes on another run. But normally, if you start losing too many in a row, the greats don't lose. I mean, they barely lose, but they definitely don't lose 2 in a row. And definitely don't lose back-to-back title fights, and that just doesn't happen. So, McGregor and Poirier in July is going to be fireworks. They're going to face, obviously, one of them's going to face one of the best. He's certainly obviously the best lightweight in the world, most decorated, one of the most decorated UFC fighters, full stop. So, very much looking forward to that in a couple of months. This weekend, so kind of like a little kind of preview. In terms of obviously one of the majors, so golf, USPGA is happening, like I mentioned last week, where Rory McIlroy won his first major, so he knows the course well. He obviously won 2 weeks ago. As far as form goes, there's almost nobody who's in form. I mean, Jordan Spieth played. He was 2 shots off the lead after the 3rd round yesterday, or on Saturday rather, and then he kind of faded a little bit. Didn't quite get up to the leaders. So he's kind of playing. He's there in the mixer, doing all right. Bryson DeChambeau wasn't great on the weekend. Scottie Scheffler's kind of my outside pick. I've been waiting for this guy to win I think he will eventually, but he's kind of, he's playing along. He's kind of doing his thing. Everyone else, I mean, John Rahm, Dustin Johnson, Justin Thomas, like these guys are like no one's in form. Like even the defending champion Morikawa, he's not particularly in form. So it's as far as betting or who we think is going to win, could be anyone. I mean, John Rahm, John Rahm's probably a good one for this week. I always like Patrick Reed in these kind of tournaments. He's not particularly in form either. He played on the weekend. And then I guess Scotty Scheffler is kind of hanging around, and then there's the outsider guys. I think it could be won by an outsider. That's my guess. It's not even a prediction. That's my guess. I think an outsider is going to come through and win it because the top guys just aren't playing well. Dustin Johnson isn't playing well. I mean, Spieth did get COVID after he won the Masters. Not won the Masters, but he came third in the Masters. So he's kind of, I guess, coming back from that. I guess that affects everyone differently, but it's going to be interesting. I mean, it's a major, so everyone's going to be right up for it. So that should be pretty exciting. And then we're going to get the Open in July, and then the US Open as well. So the majors are going to come very thick and fast. Before all the other madness is going to go on this summer with the Euros and the Olympics and whatever else, Wimbledon and French Open. It's all going to kick off, but you're going to get all the majors are going to come thick and fast now, up into the summer. And obviously the jewel in the Formula One calendars this weekend in Monaco. We're watching some of the older races, and it's as we know anyway, well, as most people know, it's because it's such a tight street circuit. Overtaking is going to be there. It's not going to be wheel to wheel battles. So it's going to be done in the qualifying, and then if there's any big strategy errors, that's going to be how anyone's going to get overtaken. But it's not going to be a wheel to wheel Hamilton Verstappen battle this week. That's going to be like that in qualifying. It's going to be qualifying is going to be one of the most important qualifyings in recent years for sure, given how close these two are. But you're going to need to get on pole, and then have your team not make a big strategy error. Which, I mean, it's hard to make a big strategy error. Obviously, unless there's rain, unless there's a safety car, and it's possible to do because Hamilton's lost a race by that. And then I guess Hamilton managed to win a race where he won the last race there 2 years ago, despite being on really, really worn tyres. So even if you're on fresh tyres, fresh car, everything, you still have to be in front of the guy because there's almost no way you can overtake, especially with the cars being so wide now. It's so hard to overtake. That being said, it's still a great race to watch. And there's going to be some crowds there, some fans there. And it's just very exciting to see. It's always great to see Monaco. And it's great to see, I guess, a qualifying session that's going to really mean the difference between winning and losing. Hamilton's won a few times there. Like I said, it's not been his happiest place, even though he's won there 3 times. I think he's won there 3 times, two or three times. But Verstappen obviously hasn't won there. I don't think he's even been on the podium there. So, he didn't come up on the podium because he got a penalty last time. So, it's gonna be very, very exciting just to watch. It's not going to be one of those races like Spain or Bahrain or Imola, where it's going to be wheel to wheel overtaking. I mean, that first corner is going to be interesting though. It depends on who's where. It's going to be very interesting because pole position's on the right hand side, and then it's such a tight little corner, turn 1. If Verstappen could send it down the outside and really risk it. So that'd be the thing to watch for, I guess. Turn 1. Qualifying should be very exciting on Saturday afternoon. Very, very exciting. And then the race is going to be cool to watch and see who gets out in front. But yeah, interesting conclusions to some of the football season. I mean, the football season is going to be over, soon. The main football season before the European Championship. So, it's exciting. It's nice to see some of these divisions competitive until the end, rather than just like having like Germany. Well, Germany, they only won it last week, to be fair, but some of these divisions are so uncompetitive. I guess brief shout out to Rangers, who won the league in Scotland without losing a game. I think they conceded like 12 goals. They didn't lose a game all season, which is pretty wild. Even though it's Scotland and the standard obviously isn't high there, but still to do it for a whole season unbeaten. Steven Gerrard's done pretty well. But yeah, looking forward to this weekend, next weekend. Gonna do a little video for you lot about the NBA, to kind of run down who's where, what to expect. And yeah, I'll see you then, and then next week, and then the week after that.